On the first Friday night of June, neath York's warm, summery moon, the voices of poets will make you swoon downtown at the York Emporium. Welcome to Jawstruck. It is the first Friday. Come on, get excited. All right, I'll note that applause was for Jawstruck and not for the poem. It is the first Friday night of June 2013. This is the second annual Jawstruck, and it is being organized by Carla Christopher, our poet laureate, and it is being hosted by the York Emporium. We want to welcome everybody here tonight. We've got a night full of poetry. We've got competitors in 2 different categories. Carla's going to tell you all about that. We're going to have readings going on, and we're going to have prizes, big prizes awarded. So, Carla, if you would like to join me here. I'm dying. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Carla Christopher.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to Jawstruck Spoken Word and Performance Poetry Festival, where the emphasis is on the fun that we have bringing the incredible written work from the page up to the stage. So tonight we have some awesome all-star performances from some of the best spoken word and performance poets that I have ever been blessed to hear. But the true stars of the show are our competition entrants, all of whom are local, homegrown, thoroughly awesome poets, who many of them are taking the stage for the first time, like ever. So we're gonna show them tons and tons and tons of love, right? Yes! Woo! Sample love! Woo! There we go. Now, I was even going to open it up, but you know what? I'm so excited about our judges that I'm not even going to do that. I would like you to meet the first of our 3 fabulous celebrity judges. If you were here for Poets Sing the Blues, you heard this master of memorization, this master of all things jazz, this incredible performance artist who has been just sharing his writing for more years than he probably wants me to tell. But he keeps it as absolutely fresh as could possibly be. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first celebrity judge, York's own Kenneth Vincent Walker.
Think me not synthetic simply cause I wax poetic. It's my love affair for the uncommon word that drives me borderline absurd. The derailment of our language exacerbates my mental anguish, but I escape within its verbiage once I summon up the courage. You say, what's the point in trying to this monosyllabic culture, which are bred to feed the vultures as they hover overhead? Perpendicular to this reasoning as we add some savory seasoning to the melting pot of vanity to procure life's own insanity. Is it poetic or prophetic or simply just pathetic? It's your opinion that we're great because mine's already made. Verily, I'm feeling rather tired. Guess my poetic license has expired. Once I find the time to renew it, perhaps you still will peck amongst the suet. The chewy chunks of reason, 'tis the time but not the season. As you slip and fall, trip and stumble, even mumble, him and haw, not what I said but what you saw, to inculcate, substantiate, and demonstrate the shock and awe, the shock that it wasn't nearly enough. And the awe, like you've got to be joking. Let me give you a little insight into my psyche. This is called I Fancy Myself. I fancy myself as poetic couture, and not just your run-of-the-mill alphabet soup du jour. A word and phrases connoisseur, as I traipse through life's charade while leading the grand tour. How arrogant, you say, to speak of yourself in such a way. Well, maybe it's just my way of saying what I say at any given time on any given day. I say what I feel, be it fantasy or real, at least I have zeal, maybe to a fault, and it's all my fault, so big deal. Please note, this is all meant to be so very tongue-in-cheek. With elements of truth and levity I seek. If you fail to see the humor, then head for the creek. We need more laughter in this world that's growing ever so bleak. I fancy myself as a poetry geek. I fancy myself now, must take a leap. I fancy myself now, don't you dare peek, while you go powder that proboscis, or shall I say, beak. Kick it back a little bit. This next piece is about love, loss, and recollection. It's called A Dream to Remember. 'Tis truly absence that makes the heart grow fonder, as I contemplate amid the distant thunder, in a resurgence from a sullen slumber, as raindrops fall upon the streetlight's amber, they call to me now in a dream to remember. My thoughts are of you, love, and those many long miles between. Though I've not been there, my true love, I most assuredly have been. With age, now my face a creased cartograph, a relic unappealing, as rain drips off the leaves, as if the trees themselves were weeping, all the way to your doorstep, in my dreams, yet in my dreams. 'Tis truly a melancholy sadness, which weighs so heavily upon my heart. Most dreams are simply forgotten, just as well and just as hard. We all seek some form of refuge, finding shelter in safe harbor. At least we have this understanding between us as not to belabor. Remember, we had won each other's favor and loved with a burning fervor. My thoughts are still of you, love, and though our paths could not sustain, though I've not been there, my true love, there are no reasons unexplained. Time, the great equalizer, shall plant us both in our separate graves, and all shall turn to shades of brown, which once garnished of vibrant greens, all the way to your doorstep, in my dreams, yet in my dreams. Addictions of any sort are a terrible thing. Keep your minds clear. Do not cheat yourselves. Forge out your own destiny. This is called Dungeon Made of Snow. Excuse me now. I have to sneeze. Got some powder up my nose. Dangling above me like Damocles in a dungeon made of snow. How much can I take, for heaven's sake? It's more than I can barely bear. In this frigid night of nights, which nothing can compare. Excuse me now, while I exhale to breathe, far within me, imprisoned and morose. In this deep, deep freeze, my blood congeals, freezing, frozen, froze. My zest for life has been repealed by the incessant cawing of the crow. I've been entrapped within a labyrinth high, but I cannot say that I didn't know. Excuse me now, I have to leave. My life beckons me to go. The Damocles release, and I cease in this dungeon made of snow. It's called Holy Cow. I can see what isn't real, so don't tell me what I can or cannot feel. Had a dream, just had it now. I was standing in the presence of a holy cow. I looked at that cow, and not to my surprise, there was emptiness in those big brown eyes. I asked that cow what did she foresee, and she didn't even acknowledge me. Who said this was a holy cow? Some holy guy with a holy bow? Is this real or some kind of a joke? Or is he blowing some holy smoke? If you get my drift, then get it now. There's no such thing as a holy cow. So if you still believe in this bovine somehow, all I can say is, holy cow. This next piece deals with the loss of a loved one and never getting to say what you really wanted to say till it was too late. Called In Retrospect. I guess we said it all, and there's nothing left to say, with still so many unanswered questions that haunt me to this day. You left this world and left me here to ponder and reflect. There are some things I would have changed, rearranged in retrospect. I guess we said it all, and there's nothing left to give, and nothing left to take, and but one life to live. You left this world and left me here, and here I do remain, to contemplate and reminisce the pleasure and the pain, to come to terms with all of this, or simply go insane, which is the reason I'm still here, and here I do remain. This is my final piece, gonna need some audience participation, but not just yet. I'll give you a signal. The only people for me are the mad ones. The ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved. Desirous of everything at the same time, who never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, burn, burn like fabulous yellow Roman candles burning like fire, spiders across the stars. Jack Kerouac on the road. Now, let me drag you back to the 50s. And not your happy days, sock-hot malted milkshake 50s, but rather to a dark, dimly lit, smoke-filled bastion of existential expression, where the sounds of Bird, a.k.a. Charlie Parker, and Dizzy so gracefully assault the empty spaces, where the sounds are beat, and the souls are beat, and the heart beats to the beat, 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 beat. Give me some finger popping, please. Thank you. It's called Jack Kerouac. It's cool to dig Jack Kerouac, 'cause Kerouac is cool. Though I prefer substance over substance abuse and drivel over drool. Isn't mere conjecture perhaps as I play the fool. But I side always with the romantics at heart, once challenged to a duel. Kerouac, Jack Kerouac, in 10 cents so forlorn. The road is such a lonely place, your clothes in tatters torn. Just take another swig of beggar's wine to dull and ease your pain. Trapped in a moment's fractured time, marked with a crimson stain. There's none other you can turn to, and so your life deprives. It's your mother that will come through for you, and not your temporary wives. Your life is but a riddle wrapped, so sad it's misunderstood. In my mind I hear a fiddle trapped, laying down a sound so pure and good. Though I wish it had played out better, but ultimately it was meant to crack. Guess you lived your life unfettered. Yes, you did, oh Kerouac. It's funny how appreciation grows and spreads when you're gray and cold and dead, while your candid tales, unrolled from scrolls, never have been more widely read. Kerouac, oh Jack Kerouac, you took from deep inside of you and pulled out pieces of your heart which many misconstrue. For there are those who still deplore but cannot ignore that it was unequivocally you who the Beat generation would come to idolize. but it's for your substance I bid you fond adieu. Don't you know that God is Pooh Bear? Thank you very much. You've been great.
See now, I decided to step to this mic because as much as we like Kenneth Vincent Walker, we need some girls in this fight. See, forget angels in flight. I'm out of space, Star Trek electric, but I like to stay in your sight range because I want you to hear this pain, this laughter, this uncensored adventure. Let it rain on you like a chemical breakthrough. We're here tonight to change you. Make a third eye grow spontaneously from your forehead and let you see new things, what priests and priestesses can bring. Because poetry, like this, it's conjuring. And our smoke and our fire, tonight we're gonna let it rise higher because poetry can't carry everything. But at least for me, it does carry most things. So thank you. Thank you for letting us be a voice in your night like a radio late show, sensual, slow, but real. Striving for a higher personal ideal, and in this moment, loving you, each of you, for all that we go through, even on hot, rainy nights in June, sandwiched in one clutter, book-filled room. I'm ready for some poetry. Are you? Now, our next fabulous judge, I've just decided to call her the Star City Laureate because she represents the fantastic emergent poetry community in Harrisburg. It's not even emergent. I think it's bordering on classic at this point. And this woman has done so much spoken word, so much education and enlightenment, taking poetry into the community, helping promote and helping to perform at events. She's astonishing, and she came all the way down here just for us. So ladies and gentlemen, please show how York welcomes Sankofa the poet.
First piece is entitled Hopeless. I am but a hopeless romantic. See, I long to write you love letters to the tips of my fingers, run red, then sign my name at the bottom in blood, your one true love. See, I want to build an ark together. As proof we can weather any weather that we may face, and as long as the sun rises and I rise to meet your face, then everything else is secondary. What I'm trying to say is, as long as I have you, then my worldly possessions are menial. See, when God spoke life into existence, he merged our souls together. I am your archetype. We in it forever spells wife. We were designed to have the type of life they write epic novels about. That eons long love that surpasses death. And on my last day, I'll say I love you with my last breath. If only you would find me. This 32-year game of hide and seek is grinding to a halt, and please don't get discouraged, husband. It is not all your fault. See, simply put, I was born without patience. Waiting is not a skill I have mastered. I have wanted signs plastered all over social networking sites. Have you seen my husband? He's been missing for 31 years, and I tried to file a police report, and I realized my worst fears. You simply cannot have the authorities find someone you have never met. So to the man that God has not yet made known to me, I love you and I am waiting. So that piece inspired this next piece called I Will Wait. I will wait until the hand of God is upon me and orders my steps. And if the rapture has come and you and I are who's left, I will wait. I will wait until the exact moment when the stars align and he waves a white flag and shows me a sign. I will not give up or give in. It will not be easy because we live a life of sin, but I will wait. I will wait as Job waited for a sign from God that he was the chosen one. As the virtuous woman waits for the man that was promised for her in Proverbs 31, I will wait. I will wait beyond the short skirts and big behinds and corny dates and pickup lines. I will wait. I will wait for him. Him who is beautifully flawed with the footprints of the struggle outlined in his jaw, flight with the speed of an escaped slave so he can always find his way into my heart. Him who knows the past is what we rest upon. So for my love, he will never run. I will wait. For him, I will wait. Okay, so like I wrote those two pieces, and then 16 months ago, I met a nice guy, right? So it was like 5 months in, and I'm an emotional poet. So normally when I'm seeing somebody, I'm like writing every day, and I have all these love poems and all this kind of stuff. So I looked up, and I'm like 5 months, and I'm like, I haven't written anything. Maybe I don't like him that much. I don't know, right? So I wrote this piece called "He Does Not Inspire Me." He does not inspire me to write poetry. Yet here I am penning a poem as an ode to what he doesn't make me do. And I'm not sure if this pisses me off yet, but give me a minute and I'll let you know. See, we are not Romeo and Juliet, nor are we Coretta and Martin. And although I don't believe he would have held my hand as we marched on Washington, I love him still. He is a steady, smooth, even blip on the radar type of love, not too high in the air and nowhere near the ground, just a smooth, steady ride, the show and prove type of love. That no, I didn't buy you a new purse because I screwed somebody else, but I bought you a scarf because on my watch you will never be cold. And I brought you lunch today because while I'm around, you will never be hungry. And no, I'm not very smooth. And yes, I am very corny and rather funny, but what he is raw honesty. The love I needed God to send to me. No roller coasters and emotional letdowns, just him loving me until he breaks down each wall I built up. And while no, he is no Martin, and nothing he says is ever poetic. He loves me with all that he has. And right now, for me, that's enough. Thank you.
Now, brief moment for a shameless plug, because our next poet and celebrity judge about to take the mic is also going to be the next published author by York's most awesome independent press that specializes in getting fabulous first-time or second-time authors out into the market, getting them shows, getting them promotion, getting them the knowledge of the publishing industry so that these books that the people don't even ever get to see are now suddenly here in your face, larger than life and awesome.
I'm crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but it's Christ who lives in me. See, I exploded onto the globe fully clothed in sin nature, but destined to be a new creature since before the days of creation. And looking back in retrospect, I'm wondering if it was all a dream as I found myself awakening in Ezekiel chapter 16. See, I was uncut and unclean. I was unkempt and unseen. No one salted or swaddled me. No one cared or even took pity. I was cast out into an open field, fully aware of how self-loathing feels. I was dead and dying, polluted in my own blood. But God heard me crying and he said, yo, I'll tell you what, just live. And unto you my son I'll give. So I was rebirthed onto spiritual turf. He gave me his worth and then he covered me under his skirts. Where I was once naked and bare, he caused me to multiply and then he grew my hair. He showed me that he loved me and that he truly cared. So I dropped to my knees. Instantly I fell down right there at his feet and so deeply in love with him as me and Jesus entered into a blood covenant. And it was all love until that moment came when he said, you won't suffer with me if you gon' forever reign. So me and Jesus had an issue of debate when after justification came the trials of temptation and then the pain of separation from old friends and situations. Having been betrayed, then I cried out for exoneration from my enemy's false accusations. But God said, just wait, and he left me in that state. Then the very God that held me was the very God that nailed me by my feet and hands to the cross of my own circumstance. I took a deep breath and gave up the ghosts of my past that were haunting me and taunting me and wanting me to go back. But I was like, nah, I can't do that. So as I hung there, I thought I had finally done enough, but he pierced me in my side and outflowed water and blood. See, just like from the side of Adam, God birthed his wife, we know that the church was birthed from the very side of Christ. So in like manner, or rather in like wise, the ministry of affliction was birthed forth from this side of mine. So as deep called unto deep, those depths called unto me and led me directly into a watery grave. At one moment, the culmination of 3 days. From that point, I was purposefully raised with the testimony that Jesus saves, Jesus reigns. Then I was led away into a secret place, an upper room with something like a sonic boom or a supernova type explosion. I received the dunamos from the Parakletos, who was known to most to be the Holy Ghost. So boldly I boast about him. I raised the chalice of obedience and proposed a toast about him. So the heathens would come, so the heathens would run right out of the fog, but yet instill back into the fog, which is from out of the form of godliness and into the favor of God. So the heathens could finally taste and look to find that they could read God's mind if they would just read his book. Because the word of God is the thought of God, is the mind of God that was wrought by God just for us so we can be completely free and justified, sanctified, purified, set aside, eventually glorified, or as I call it, Christified. This is the very moment that I extend my hand and invite you into my reality. Yes, my reality where I deal candidly and sometimes callously, and you see into me and we together experience truth and intimacy. Viewing my metamorphoses through my tantrums and my rages, my silent outbursts of violence and hatred, my melancholy meander through all of my life stages as I read what my soul cries and my heart bleeds upon the pages. You wanna know why? Well, it's simple. Because the pages, the pages, they don't lie. See, they speak honestly about all the shit that bothers me and exactly what is wrong with me, because I'd rather kick rocks outside your box and epitomize the word anomaly than to be drowned in a sea of mediocrity like so many of my peers who wear cement shoes of degradation and fear. I'm glad you took a seat. I'm glad you sat right there in that chair so you can lend me your ear, until you can hear my pain and feel my tears running down your cheek as you attempt to dry them with your sleeve. It's these tears that I haven't had the courage to let out yet, but I needed your attention because I needed an outlet, and for that reason I was probably ousted from a government job and took a chance on coupling a piece of paper with a drawing apparatus and making them dance. Matter of fact, I married a pen and a page. No, strike that. I put together parchment with a writing utensil. Nah. Better still, a blank sheet with a pencil so I could write, erase, and recreate some shit that hits but sometimes seems nonsensical, but yet and still undoubtedly original, never feeding off of anyone else's residual excrement. Now listen carefully, then you'll see where this poem was meant to go to excellence. And Father, please forgive me for killing so many trees, but I needed these to utilize my ingenuity to create a paper mache stairway to climb, then lead, and leave behind a paper trail for those that want to follow me. Because I don't do this to get paid, and I don't do this to get laid. I spit this gift so I can get sprayed with showers of blessings from the hand of the very God by whom I've been made. Because it's his gift. And every time I rhyme and spit, I'm giving it right back to him. But for this moment in time, I've been so inclined to share with you a line or two, and I'm gonna get right back with him. Peace. All right, I'll do one more, and I'll do this one last because my mom told me to do this one last. That's what she said. She said, do this one last. She told me to do Christified first, and then do Been So Good last. So that's what I did. Well, actually, I wanna do one in between, and it's called Help My Unbelief. Love. Quite possibly the most abused or misused word I've ever known. If the mere sound of it causes the listener to feel like meat when being butchered, if its random usage becomes empty colloquialism, falling from deaf ears, landing on cold cement, if the errant definition of the term itself causes emotional trauma to the speaker, if its first impression is corruption of soul and lasting legacy is complete devastation, how then can any one person of sound mind believe in love? All right, so here's the last one, the one my mom told me to do. Shout out to my mom. Lord, you've been so good, even when I was not good to myself. You came and stepped in, Lord. You've been so good, even when I was not good to myself. You came and stepped in. You loved me and covered me at times when it seemed I was so unlovable, at the very least, unlovely. Your love is unconditional, even though I've never been religious or a traditional Christian, because you haven't given me a traditional mission. I have an unorthodox purpose to breathe life and love through poetic verses, but what hurts is people like me aren't always accepted in churches, and what's worse is I was often disrespected, finding out how it feels to be disconnected as discontentment sets in. And I know that you understand, because you were the cornerstone that the builders rejected, yet by you I was hand selected. Without regard for man's acceptance, I'm just reflecting, needing to be reconnected, praying for protection, crying out in repentance, but I still got questions like, why does it have to hurt? And why did it have to happen with the first lady? Which really made me hate me, which made me damn near crazy. I nearly lost my mind behind that, and I haven't fully recovered yet, Lord. See, I'm still trying to find that part of me that was lost to the degree that I promised you that I would never again preach your gospel, but I found that to be impossible. I mean, how could I deny you? And how could I have ever told you no when your word is like fire shut up in my bones? It just won't leave me alone. But I tried to remain numb by smoking that spliff and that grape ape, that piff, and trying to stay blitzed when your grace and mercy covered me, and you didn't remove my anointing or the giftings or the callings, but the prayers of the righteous kept me uplifted. Yeah, they kept me from falling into oblivion. So I'm giving in, surrendering, requesting deliverance from my willful disobedience. And since spending time in your face is never a waste, I'll see you tomorrow, Jesus. Same time, same place, in your name. Thanks, Lord. You've been so good, even when I was not good to myself. You came and stepped in, Lord. You've been so good, even when I was not good to myself. You came and stepped in.
I found it. I found the beat. I done finally found the beat, and now I'm sinking into rhythm that's drowning me and hitting me somewhere above the ears so my eyes can just barely peer over that edge, and I'm seeing you, each wave like a sound wave lapping, but with a beat that makes sense, a series come together when everything else is falling apart, scattered by the vibration. See, what falls away was meant to go. But I got no time. 'Cause I'm dancing in water now. I'm making waves start to spin. There's a sucking tidal pulling us together, chest to chest. My face turns up toward the sun. My arms rise up out of the wet into the warm, and I am Oshun, bathed in beauty. My hair is beautiful. My skin is beautiful. I reflect the sun with skin made of glass and mirror, and my rhythm is the rhythm of all creation, the embodiment of she. Everything the beat was meant to be, and now I can be dancing and happy. We're now about to see how the young up-and-comers, our 21 and under future celebrities, handle the magic carpet and the microphone. I would like to welcome our first 21 and under Celebrity of Tomorrow competitor, doing 2 original pieces that she wrote herself, Miss Emma Farrow.
My first poem is called Threads. He walked next to me the whole way home, pointing to things like footprints, bright stars, cold hands. He asked me if God was real, and I said I didn't know. He turned to walk away, and I sat down in the snow, watching the threads of my clothes darken one by one, and it was just so beautiful that I started to weep. And my second poem is called White. As the snow came down, I looked straight up, eyes on the moon, feet gripping earth. The coldness cut me, but it felt so good. The flakes were big, fat, and lacy. I let one melt on my eyeball. White on white on white.
Please welcome to the stage, Kira Tempest.
This is a poem. It's called Being a Tree Princess. I've been called this before because people have talked about climbing me. Yes, they have. You know, I don't mind being tall. I get to help old ladies reach the mayonnaise on the top shelf. My legs look killer in a dress with 3 to 4 inch heels. And yes, the weather is better up here. Thanks for asking. But what really grinds my gears, burns my biscuit, and waters down my vodka is the barrage of questions I get. No, I'm not 6'3". Chop about 3 inches off of that. And yes, I'm sure. No, I'm not a model. I don't play sports, and I don't plan to. No, I don't randomly go around jumping over the ankle biters of America, holding their belongings above my head as they try to shimmy up my legs. And for the last time, you may not climb me like a cat in a Christmas tree, because I will not be your tree princess, but I will be your fierce Amazon. My second poem is kind of serious. I write about things that I can kind of relate to, but when I wrote this poem, I was kind of weirded out that I could relate to this. Well, kind of put myself in this person's shoes. It's about domestic violence, but it's not from the angle that you would think it's from. It's called Taboo. You can be you, but on my terms. Accept yourself for who you are, but don't go around thinking you're beautiful. Do something with your hair, fix your face, and Jesus Christ, don't be such a pig. I built you, I made you, and if for 1 second you forget that you're better than me, I can ruin you and what you thought you were. A pretty little girl is what I've broken, and it's what I'll continue to keep broken until you have the strength to leave me. But not before I wipe it out of your head, messing up what little self-worth that you had, because I don't even have any myself.
For Elijah Pearson.
The 5 times I lost myself. 1. The first time I lost myself, I was 8 years old. It was noon and my shadow disappeared from the face of the earth like it was exiled from my heels. There was no darkness to project on the pavement, to follow me everywhere I went. Even then I understood that something was missing. And at noon I walked down the street with my oversized Toy Story backpack filled with 2 toys, 1 outfit, and a Capri Sun. And at that moment I wanted nothing more than to grow up. I could feel pride churning at my feet, forcing me step after step away from my house, little earthquakes in the pavement too soft to be felt. No one even noticed I was gone. I only made it to the stop sign 2 blocks away before I got scared and ran back home, watching my shadow dance beneath me, not behind me like it usually did. That day at noon, I could feel the darkness enter me, and I will never forget how it feels to lose pure innocence, too. The second time I lost myself, I didn't yet know that Peter Pan was a coward. At 11 years old, I had seen more drunks than a depressed Irishman, and I spent most nights making sure my mother didn't choke on her puke in her sleep. The house was always dark, and somehow she was always darker, and when I saw her try to take her own life, I didn't know how much longer I could keep mine. I just knew that I would give her every last second I had to save her and make sure I never felt that way. I never wanted to grow up. 3, when I was 15, I grew up way too fast. Honestly, I don't remember the first time I French kissed a cigarette or swallowed pills with my Capri Sun. I just remember waking up one day and instinctively reaching my hand for my stash of Vicodin to keep this heavy ship from sinking. 4, I realized if I had known what Mother was going through, I probably would have let her drown in her sleep. 5, I'm 17 now. I spend most days trying to figure out what it means to be a man. I can't grow facial hair. I'm a pacifist. Sometimes I believe I'm too messed up to love, and the only really masculine part about myself is that I'm still alive, but no one seems to recognize that as a character trait. The 5th time I lost myself was in definitions, so let me clarify. If you are alive, you are strong. If you are alive, you are strong. If you are alive, you are strong. Slit wrists and sleepless nights don't change who you are. Being afraid of sobriety doesn't change who you are. If you've ever survived a heartbreak, if your heart has ever jumped into your stomach like a suicide attempt, if you've ever relied on your shadow just to remind you how you feel, you are strong just for being here. Don't get lost in the definitions of what it means to be yourself. The strongest thing you could do is live when you don't want to. The 5th time I lost myself, I was just trying to remember a time when I was happy. When the sun and I used to play hide and seek through the branches of the trees and the whole world was in love with my innocence. The only definition of a man I've ever come up with is living even when you don't want to. It's finding yourself not in shadows, but in love. Thank you. I read a poem that was kind of about addiction and abuse and a few other things. And this guy came up to me after the show crying and telling me like how he understood where I was. And I realized that like the majority of my poems come from really dark places in my past and stuff like that. So this is kind of a poem about all of the poems that I write, I guess. It's called Dear God, brackets, Anthology of My Poetry. Dear God, the first time I found myself in the rhythmic tantric beat of 1,000 cellophane cicadas, I quietly wondered why the earth had such a bad habit of drilling into my eardrums every time I needed the silence the most. The first time I realized that fireflies weren't just the broken fragments of the sun after it exploded into the horizon, I wondered why reality had such a bad habit of leaving everything sunburnt and alone when we all just needed each other the most. The first time I found myself silently screaming in the shower, hoping that the steam would drown me, I didn't wonder anything. All these poems are starting to sound the same. Someone once told me that if you listen to the wind, you can hear entire poems being delicately whispered into your ear. So I walked outside during Hurricane Sandy to hear the entire anthology of E coming shatter my eardrums, but I never heard a single poem. Just 70-mile-an-hour winds and the sound of me shivering quietly by myself. Someone once told me that I'm depressing. By someone, I mean literally everyone I've ever met, and the symphony of cicadas never came to drown out the sounds of their accusations. Yes, I am trying. Why don't you get it? And no, it's not that I prefer the darkness. I'm just smart enough to understand that light always leaves, and sometimes I get tired of your metaphors and bullshit about why the world is so beautiful. The ocean isn't a beacon of hope and promise and depth. Sometimes it's just the ocean. Dear God, I'm so sick of the way the sun slits the wrist of the horizon every night and returns every day to heal the darkness within. I'm so sick of the way it sounds just like me and her, and I'm so sick of writing poetry about her. I'm 37 poems further from her skin. I don't even want back in. Sometimes I think it was just easier to let her hate me than it was to hate myself. And I'm tired of writing poems about depression. But I'm not really sure if I'm tired of being depressed. I felt this way for so long. I'm not sure what I would do if my chest suddenly exploded into an array of fire and light. I am more afraid of all the things I could feel than all of the things that I hate feeling. Dear God, the only thing I've ever prayed for is that no one would understand my poetry. That no one would come up to me after a show and tell me that they felt what I felt and seen what I've seen. The only thing I ever asked for is that I would be the only one that felt this way. Every one of my poems is about wanting to die. Or the bruises he left, or the scars she left, or how I need smoke in my lungs so that I don't feel so empty. Dear God, if I ever have to write an anthology of my poetry, can you please make sure there's at least one happy poem in there? Dear God, if I ever perform a happy poem, can you please let that be the poem the entire world relates to? Dear God, the first time I found myself in the rhythmic tantric beat of 1,000 cellophane cicadas, I quietly wondered why it seems like we're always surrounded, yet we feel so alone. Thank you.
Michelle Snyder.
The first poem I'm going to share to you might help lift your spirits a bit, because we can build ourselves up after something bad, and it's important to try and do that. This poem, it's entitled My World. They say the caged bird sings of freedom, but I too sing of an escape from a place where uniqueness is discarded and looked down on. I'll fly to a place where I can show my true colors, where finally they will see how stunning I am underneath. Somewhere I can be my own. Personalities shine through that are different and accepted. So I can let my true colors show in my world where I've built myself up only to tear me down, start over clean slates, harder and harder each time, trying to find the joy to carry on and bear the weight of the others on my shoulders that I need to bear. For they need me there to take care of them because no one else seems to give a damn. In my world. Thank you. This next poem, it's entitled I Love You. And I actually just wrote this poem a few weeks ago. I don't know why, I haven't wrote in a while, but it just came to me and came to me right in time for this competition, so I'm very glad of that. But we as a culture say we love things way too much in life. But baby, when I say I love you, I mean that I would go to the ends of that earth and back, just for you. But we as a culture say we love things way too much in life. I love you. Overused, underused, understood, misunderstood. That you hold a special place in my heart no one else has. Is what is meant when those three simple, lovely words are said to you. And yes, we use the word love way too much in life. For we as a culture say we love things way too much in life. So when I say I love things, and that utters out of my mouth, just remember, it just means I like them a lot. For we as a culture will say we love things way too much in life. But when I say I love you, baby, I mean it with my entire heart, that you are its sole desire. And don't ever forget that. For whenever I'm saying I love so many things, I remind myself that we all as a culture say we love too many things. And when I love these things, there's not a place I'd rather be other than in your arms. So please, please, baby, do not take I love you lightly when it is said to you. But take it ever so lightly when I say I love other things. For those things are not you. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, can we get a big hand for our 4 21 and under amazing Jawstruck finalists? They were all awesome. They were all selected out of a pool of very talented and enthusiastic writers. But only one person can win this exciting subscription to Stone Soup, the magazine for and by young writers, can win all this poetry and these CDs and these awesome leather-bound journals and this fabulous gift certificate to the York Emporium, as well as bragging rights for the entire next year. And as a little bonus surprise, there is a contract in here to produce your own chapbook by Poem Sugar Press to be marketed with accompanying shows. Our runner-up, who did an incredible job and who we are happy to have had grace our stage, is the incredible Michelle Snyder. And ladies and gentlemen, you can even say the name with me because you probably know who it is. Please welcome Poem Sugar's newest author, Elijah Pearson. Congratulations to all of our competitors. You guys were wicked, dope, and awesome. But it's time to climb the ladder, to bring out the grownness, the sexiness, what we've all come for. So, I would like to introduce our first 22 and up adult competitor. For bringing her fabulous poetry to the mic tonight, Emily Purvis.
This is titled Transcend. A wanting awaits that stimulates my mind. I want to feel yours, The way images move above and between the space that holds intellect and braces it with reality. An experience with another, engrossing an abstract essence of space, in between the lines of reality to fanciful imagination, allowing my mind to meet yours with a touch that speaks when words are silenced. I haven't titled this yet. Most of my stuff is untitled. We'll try it. Draw me up to you. Bring me to the allure of your wanting, your longing, as you crave and covet our unlimited paradigm.
Bambi Jordan, come on, Bambi.
Just a little bit to know me. I'm a breast cancer survivor of 5 years. I wrote a lot before I had cancer. When I got cancer, my brain wouldn't function. So the first one I'm going to read is one that I had just recently wrote, and it was sent to the Down Syndrome Council. I am special, so just love me. My eyes are a little different than yours. Please don't stare at me. I talk a little different than you. Please don't laugh at me. I learn a little slower than you do. Don't call me dumb. My body is short and stocky. Don't call me fat. When I get excited, I get loud. Please don't make fun of me. I have feelings just like you, so please don't hurt me. I have a heart just like you, so don't be mean and break it. Most of all, I am a loving person, so just love me back. This one's called A Child's Cries. Every day, no matter what, I go to school, but I also break God's golden rule. The teacher says, "How did you get that bruise on your face?" I tell her I was running, trying to win a race. God does not like when you lie, but Daddy told me if I tell the truth, they're gonna take Mommy away and she will die. So summer's here, but long sleeve and pants I wear so no one will see. I have many bruises from Daddy all over me. Last night I was not feeling well. I got sick before I reached the bathroom. Daddy was mad. He said I did it on purpose to get attention. So he hit me in the back with a broom. Mommy gets hit when she tries to protect me sometimes. Daddy slaps her and tells her to shut me up. He's tired of hearing me cry and whine. Last night I asked God to make Daddy stop. Mommy and Daddy are fighting again. I heard things breaking and then a loud drop. When I looked out my bedroom door, I seen Mommy laying on the floor. I heard footsteps coming, so I ran and hid in my closet and locked the door. Then I heard a shot ring out and Mommy scream, "No more." My Mommy shot my Daddy right then and there. The police came and took Mommy away and sent me to foster care. It's been months. My Mommy and I are back together. No more pain for us. We just enjoy each other in the summer weather. God is in our life now to help us cope. With God in your corner, there is always hope.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Dustin Nispel.
My rusty microphone sits in my musty hideaway home, modest and honestly the toughest piece of property I've ever owned. This old, rusty, trusty microphone is my sage and my suffrage, my soul and my bones, stripped of coverage, where I spit stitches from the pieces I've sewn and fit bridges with rhyme and leverage for overgrown pleasures, holding my ledger stone. I lecture my microphone with abrasive textures and tones from the years of my broken hideaway home, where poverty makes a mockery of property and food has you properly groveling at the system's throne to merely subsist as you and your own vision of optometry. It sits on stand, connected to my hand, listed as infected, sacrilegious, and banned. It holds the whole entirety of my sobriety, jammed into every wire mesh strand, and it keeps acquiring the firing of my primordial primary diary gland. And though it's dying slow as the hourglass still has sand. So it goes where I go in steadfast motion from the low road land. My microphone soaks in potent potion when it's fixed on stand, and it shows only devotion when choking down a vocal poet's command to drink my ocean and find dry land. My weathered M68 sends letters through space for contact reaction rather than passive passing traits. It clearly states the matter of fact that passion is simply a backwards chase to the fast crashing stanzas in the wire mesh grate. This mic can take it like a damn man can pray to just make it through his miserable day. If he just had patience and the right words of play in his run-on statements, then maybe he could stay on stage and portray what it's like to love the mic as a displaced, deranged vagrant who still has time, no matter how ancient or impatient the arrangement of mine. My microphone shows all sides from every line of organized crime as kingpin holding the links of finite rhyme. The words sink in stages like the rust and grime I've intertwined in my microphone cages, from ink and blood spilt on pages and pages and pages, and only my microphone knows how to say it the safest. See, it takes the placement of burning chords, yearning to break engagement with the dukes and lords of makeshift debt overdue on payment. My mic is love in form. And though it's weathered and worn from the aggressive pressures and storms, it's never been better nor lesser, as the message of the sender is solely of soul reform. Like it was before, when the door was open to less than normal visit, when we wore more light than crimson and bore what we felt was right to what was missing, instant. Moment in flight to resort without transition, pause. For reminiscence, for the twisted cause and defeat and remission, for the heart is starting to look a lot like the missing listed with a reward and description, and the date of disappearance is only a prediction. A lonely moan with a small incision, left where home was home, and a post-it note written in encryption, stapled to the stitches, reads, "Thanks for the inspiration and transition, and I know you love me like children love Christmas, but this is the last letter I'm gifting, signed and dated as your prophet and witness. Best wishes to you in your position." I wanted to write history, not historical fiction that ends in misery and extinction from two parties warring over reason as dictators of friction. A young man, a dance in the rain for benediction, but she doesn't see him in pain as he doesn't reside in her jurisdiction. See, constructed eviction was handwritten on his door years before his heart constricted, and the more he resisted, the more she forgot he even existed. Once a lover, now a witness, a crime under covers in a twisted prison of misfits, and she's the only visitor listed on this kid's Christmas wish list, but it's the 26th, and Santa must have missed it, or maybe he deemed it illicit to dream dreams for the condemned and convicted, for the hollow, for the wicked. So I count stars as I fall apart from open wounds that once were scars, and the heart, and the heart, and the heart clings to strings that sing from her guitar, and sparks beam from her teeth, too distant in the dark for me to reach, because I'm grounded underneath the mountain of God, and Jesus is bartering for my release, but the Father is hard to please while he's martyring those who prod for peace of heart, as he finds them rather odd and far less charming to free. There's a black burn under the tree where coal came to ash faster than my prayer could ask a soul to dream. The past is a road to walk, but not for the weak, for Santa's sack is packed to the seams, and there just isn't room for me in the back or the burlap, let alone underneath my dying Christmas tree.
Now, this is almost challenging to give out because we've never had scores that were this close. There was literally 2 points separating all three of our competitors. So just know that aside from the fact that all three of you were the finalists chosen out of a host of entries, that all three of you stumped our judges, and we truly struggled because all three of you received wonderful marks, and it was incredibly tight. However, someone has to receive dinner at Sam and Tony's and tons of Emporium stuff and the fancy, like, freaking $8 pen. Like, how good can a pen write to cost like freaking $10? I don't even understand. But including, this is my personal favorite, so I just have to show this off. The suede bound copy of Dante's Inferno. If you could feel this right now, you would need a moment alone. That's all I'm gonna say. Our first runner-up is Miss Emily Purvis. Bam. That's right, no hugs. We hug here, we don't high five here. Good job. And our grand prize swag bag recipient, spoken word sensation, Dustin Nispel. Be careful in the parking lot. People may jack you for your Dante's Inferno. Awesome competitors and performing judges today. And we will see all of you right here at the Emporium, first Friday in June next year. Thank you.